Welcome to the show, people. Welcome to the show.
Tricky Guy Sports.
Full episode for February 21st, 2026.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. It's your host, Brent Bilski, a.k.a. Double B, or the 110 Soldier. Today, the WNBA season is already done. I think they're cooked. The only people who don't see it yet are the ones who caused it, the players.
It's all your fault.
Victor Wembanyama's all-star performance not only was great, but he reminded us what competitive pride actually looks like. Can he save the league with this and lead us into the new school?
It's our time now.
And the Bad Bunny halftime show didn't stay a show. It became a culture war, but I got good news. I think it's going to lead to a WrestleMania match.
WrestleMania! No way!
But I got to start off with the big one, the Olympics, and this is tough, man. I have never been more brokenhearted for a figure skater in my entire life, and I have to talk about the fall of Ilia Malinin, a.k.a. the Quad God, or as I'm now going to call him, Winter's Dan O'Brien, because in my opinion, dude, 10 years from now, they're not going to talk about medals, they're not going to talk about hockey, they're not going to talk about skiing, they're going to start with the ghost of Quad God. Ilia Malinin did not enter these Olympics as a favorite. He entered as a certainty. 2 years undefeated, a technical floor higher than anyone's ceiling. He was the only human alive who could do the 4.5 rotation Axel, why they call him the Quad God, and he had a 70-point collapse and absolutely blew his gold medal chance. It has got to be the biggest unraveling I have ever seen in at least 30 years, and it just goes to show, man, no matter how many quads you got in your legs, you still have to control what's between your ears, and even on the Olympic stage, even a god can break.
Where is your God now?
It was just so heartbreaking to watch. Even he said the pressure got to him. In his latest quote, he put up a post recently, said, "On the world's biggest stage, those who appear the strongest may still be fighting invisible battles on the inside." And that's all this was, man. This was all between the ears. To put into context so you can understand just how big of a collapse this was, to give you other real-world comparisons, sports fan, think like if Patrick Mahomes in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl threw 4 straight interceptions, basically when C.J. Stroud in the Super Bowl, or think of like if Steph Curry had 3 free throws in Game 7 to win the NBA Finals and he missed all 3. He's never missed 3 in his entire life, just FYI. But that was the level of this should not have happened. There was no way this was going to happen. I don't think most people, including myself before this, understood just how dominant Quad God really was.
Because there is no one better.
This kid going into this was on a 14-event win streak. He had not lost since November 2023. The two-time world champion was a 95 to 97% favorite to win the event. I'm going to repeat that. 95 to 97% chance to win the gold medal. He led after the short program, which was supposed to be his weak point, with a 5-point cushion, heading into the free skate, which was supposed to be his dominant time because only he can do those quad axles. He had 7 planned, and man, that is not what happened to Quad God, man. This poor kid, with all the lights and all the pressure, not only fell twice, but he abandoned his quad axles almost completely. He had planned out 7 of them. He only did 4, and he went from first to 8th place in 1 minute. His personal best previous to this was 333.81. His Olympic total at the biggest time when it mattered was 264.49. 69-point drop. That's not just like an oops. That's a complete collapse. He didn't even need to be great. He didn't even need to be good. He just had to do his baseline minimum, and instead he had the absolute worst performance of his life at the absolute worst time. It is just,
You blew it!
Like I said, I've never been more heartbroken for I was watching a figure skater. It ruined my day, and I felt so bad for this kid and understanding the pressure. And people will remember this 10 years from now, the Quad God and what he went through. The only comparison I have is 1992. I'm calling him the Winter's Dan O'Brien. Does anybody else remember Dan O'Brien, 1992, who was the face of the USA Summer Olympics in the Reebok's Dan versus Dave campaign? Does anybody remember this? It was a commercial thing they stated over and over about the world's greatest decathlete, Dan O'Brien and Dave, and Dan was the face of this $25 million national campaign. He was not just supposed to win gold, he was supposed to dominate, and he got to the U.S. trials, not the Olympics, the U.S. trials, and missed all 3 pole vault attempts. The last thing he had to do, he no-hided, he didn't even qualify. This kid was being pumped by Reebok, always about to win the gold medal. He didn't even make it to Barcelona. He got to the Olympic trial event, last event, pole vault, did not complete 1 of 3. I mean, he just completely melted down. Same thing. This forced Reebok to scrap. They already had 15 pre-scheduled ads for the Olympics. Every one of the slogans was, we're going to settle this in Barcelona, Dan versus Dave. Well, unfortunately, Dan didn't even get there. Didn't even arrive. Not only did he not win the gold medal, like Malinin at least made it to the Olympics, that poor kid didn't even get there because he choked at the trials. And man, Malinin didn't lose to somebody better. He lost to his brain, and he lost to the pressure, and he lost to the moment. Dan O'Brien once famously said after that event, I can make that height every day of my life except for today. Malinin, after his collapse, said, I felt like I had no control. It's the same sentence. It's a different decade. It's the pressure, man. It's just a different level. And before we even mock figure skating or give this kid too much grief, I think average sports fan needs a 101, because I needed it too. Just how tough and the physical limits that quad god Malinin was pushing his body to is really worth mentioning, dude. I know a lot of us love to say, they're male figure skaters. Come on, man, that's soft. They got the bedazzled suits. We think of Blades of Glory.
Going straight up the ass of the competition, Scott.
But let's talk about why he was so famous and what he was doing. He did the quad axel jump. That is 4.5 rotations. He's the only human in history to ever do it because he's already pushing the boundaries of the human limit for any athlete you have ever heard of. The sports science of trying to land the quad axel is fascinating. Every time he does that jump, just FYI, his entry speed is 15 to 20 miles per hour. At that time, when he spins, he's generating 150 foot-pounds of takeoff torque and 300 to 500 pounds of launch force to reach 350 to 400 RPMs of rotational velocity. He experiences G-forces in that spin that are similar to a fighter pilot or an astronaut taking off. That spin is so hard on that leg, he has to wear a reinforced custom carbon fiber boot or his shin bone would snap from the pressure. Then, to land it, he's creating about 180 pounds of centrifugal force on the arms that he has to keep locked in. And then when he lands back on that 1 foot, it has an impact of 8 to 14 Gs, aka 1,000 pounds of pressure on that single little blade. So to review, 400 RPM spinning, 7 rotations per second with a landing force that is 5 to 8 times his body weight, all on one leg, on a blade thinner than your finger, on ice. It is so unbelievably close to the physical limit. Scientists have said maybe 5 spins tops one day will be the most we'll ever see. It is so tough and it is so hard, and this kid used to make that look easy.
That's just too easy. No. That shit is too easy. It's too easy.
Which is why at 21 years of age, he's already pressured next Olympics, dude. He's got to win it. Retirement in the Winter Olympics for figure skaters starts in the late 20s, man. This kid was a true one of one. He was the Michael Phelps of the ice. He was the Usain Bolt, the Simone Biles. Pick your one of one freak. That's what Malinin was supposed to be to male figure skating, and I got to give credit after learning this kid is a true unreal athlete and a lot tougher than most of us give him credit for. And he just choked, man. I hate saying the word, but that's what he did, man. The kid choked. He got under pressure and the kid choked. It is something scientific there too. Your brain, when that panic starts creeping in, it stops executing and it just enters survival mode. Quad God was a passenger in his own body, and it's just so heartbreaking. All that muscle memory, the thousands of hours of repetition just gets hijacked by panic, man. That first mistake, which when you saw that first one, when he didn't commit to that quad axle, he was like, oh no, here we go. And it just got worse and worse. The snowball started. He said himself, he felt like he had no control. And it's just the cruelty of the Olympics, man. This is why I would never... If I had a kid that was the most talented kid in the world, I would hate for him to go to the Olympics, because think of a guy like Malinin, the quad god. He was the unquestioned best for 1,459 days, a.k.a. 3 straight years minus 1 day. And all we're going to remember is that 1 day. 4 years of buildup, 4 minutes to deliver. You just don't get averaged out by what you did in the World Championships. And can he make a comeback? Abso-freaking-lutely. Look, Dan O'Brien also famously came back in 1996 and won gold. But the hard truth is, I don't remember Dan O'Brien for that. I remember him for not making the Olympic trials. For at least the next 4 years, we're going to talk about Malinin and how great he is, the quad god. And what I'm going to remember is that unbelievable collapse, the worst moment of his life at the worst possible time. The Olympic pressure is something different than any other sport. And I absolutely feel for this kid. And I don't know what he's going through. But man, when you watch these Olympics, just remind yourself, they are going through pressure most of us will never experience in this lifetime or the one after. Shout out to Quad. You're one of a kind. You're a tough kid. And damn it, that sucks. And I'm rooting for you in 4 more years.
4 more years!
All right, let's talk about something more fun. Let's get into the NBA. Yeah, dude. By the way, did y'all see John Tesh? He actually was at the All-Star game doing the song, man. It was so cool. I'm so glad NBC has it back. That was a lot of fun to watch. But everyone is talking about the All-Star weekend basically being saved by the alien, man. Shout out Victor Wembanyama, and I hope upon hope that he just ended the too cool era. 2 years ago on this podcast, I said out loud I was very worried about the NBA's future. Steph, LeBron at their career's end. Who is next? But after Sunday and after watching Wemby and even Anthony Edwards lead the new school, officially taking the torch at that All-Star game, I feel more at peace, and I think the league is in good hands, man. I mean, for over a decade, this All-Star game, we know it had been pure The All-Star game was a layup line. No one competed. Somewhere along the way, competing hard gave way to protecting just your image. Got to be cool. Don't try too hard. Don't embarrass yourself. And I'm going to say it. I think it started with LeBron James. I really think LeBron led this too cool era. And on Sunday, out came that alien, man. Wembanyama, along with Edwards. The new school has landed. And I love this quote. A man who wants to lead the orchestra must turn his back to the crowd. That's what Wemby did. He gave everyone an excuse to compete that day. He exposed a decade of bad NBA culture. And I think myself and others were all so over this too cool era. If Wemby can lead the new revolution, man, I am all for it.
The revolution has begun!
In case you missed it, and you shouldn't have, dude, this was the best All-Star game I've seen since Kobe broke Michael Jordan's heart a long, long time ago. Dude, by the time this thing tipped off, 6 seconds into the game, Wemby was out for blood, sprinting to the rim, dunking. First 7 points in under 2 minutes to open. Just completely set the tone. In just 20 total minutes, I don't care that they lost. He had 33 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks. And actually, he probably lost because the old school guys, Luka and Jokic, had clearly no desire to try to play that game hard at all. But that's not the story. The story is what happened around him. This All-Star game got 8.8 million viewers. That's an 87% increase from last year, the highest since 2011, peaked at 9.8 million once word got out. Hey, man, they're actually trying this All-Star game. It is crazy to see. And Anthony Edwards, who was the MVP, said afterwards, straight up, quote, I am not going to lie, Wemby set the tone. He came out playing hard, and it's hard not to match that. Jalen Brunson said something similar. Quote, I think Wemby is a leader. The way he carries himself is fantastic for this game. You see what his impact was on and off the court. And Wemby himself even said, it's a game I love, a game I cherish. Being competitive is the least I can do. And before the game said, I'm going to bring this thing back to its former glory. If others don't play hard, I'm going to do it without him. That is how you lead. That is how you get the new era and start an entire new way of playing is you either come with me or this big 7'4" alien is going to embarrass every goddamn one of you. And that was the pace he was on before they picked it up. If they would have tried the old layup line, LeBron way of doing things, Wemby would have embarrassed everyone. And he forced them. He forced them to make a choice of like, well, I guess I got to go, man. This kid's ready to rock. The LeBron era culture shift, and I'll put Luka and Jokic in this category too, as we saw them in the All-Star game. But I'll separate Luka and Jokic. It's not that they don't like to play hard. They don't like to play hard for the United States. That's a completely different story. If you watch Luka and Jokic in the Olympics, those guys are in shape, they're locked in, and they are trying hard. The NBA in the United States is a paycheck for Luka and Jokic. That's just the way it is. I will go more back to Mr. James, who is an all-time great, but culturally, let's be honest, his era shifted the league.
S-O-F capital T. Soft.
This load management, brand preservation, image control, protect legacy over trying hard, making strategic be cool. That is all LeBron, dude. That is all of his stamps on the game there. The face of the league, and he would treat exhibitions or anything else that was voluntary, like a dunk contest, like optional cardio. Everyone else followed. And, not just Luka and Jokic. You watched everyone follow that energy for years, and fans felt it. The league felt soft. We were all pissed off. And I'm sorry, I'm not romanticizing things, dude. This was so different from the prior years, whether it was MJ, Kobe, Magic, Bird, players before them. Dude, say what you want, young buck, but I hear a lot of people talk about, oh, you don't know ball. Y'all clearly don't know ball if you want to pretend like I'm just romanticizing stuff here. Michael Jordan wanted to embarrass you in the preseason if you pissed him off. Don't believe me? Go look up Reggie Miller, Black Jesus preseason story that he told on national television. Kobe Bryant specifically, and I did a video about this, went right at Michael Jordan and ended basically the last great moment of his career because he wanted to. His own hero, young lion ate old lion in an all-star game that was super competitive. Magic and Bird, I don't care where they were or what they were doing. They almost got in a fight shooting a Converse commercial. Go Google it, man. These guys competed all the time because they wanted to prove they were the best. And then somewhere that edge faded, man, not because talent declined, because it became too cool to try hard and competing hard stopped being mandatory. I blame LeBron, but now I look at Wemby, and I think he's made it mandatory again. And holla frickin' Luya, and I can't believe I'm shouting out Wemby this much, but man, I'm really starting to love this kid. Because that's what a real leader does, man. That's what Kobe and them did. That's what Michael Jordan did. That's what Larry Bird and Magic did. A man who wants to lead the orchestra must turn his back to the crowd. Wemby turned his back on that cruise control culture that had dominated for the last decade. He did not wait for a consensus. He did not wait for his teammates' opinion. He did not worry about protecting his image. He just started sprinting. He just started going. He just said, I'm out here to kick everyone's ass. And then the one guy that plays hard that everyone else respected, suddenly everyone else then was forced to make a choice. Who are you? Are you going to sit on the sidelines? Are you going to let this guy dominate? Ego kicked in, dude. That is leadership. That's not tweets. That's not speeches. That was setting a tone that was so desperately necessary. And Wemby might be the first superstar in years who does not care about preserving his aura. He cares simply about earning his respect. Along with Anthony Edwards, the MVP, I'll throw in there. But even he admitted it was Wemby who set the tone that day. And if this is the beginning of a post-LeBron cultural shift, dude, I'm all for it, and it only takes one. Now, Saturday, just to throw this in there, the Saturday night events clearly still need a rehaul. Those are still absolutely terrible. First off, I would have put the WNBA shooters in the three-point contest like we did a couple years ago, because WNBA, which I'll get to in a second here, is going to be in a huge need for a publicity and some feel-good moments here, and this platform would have helped everyone. But remember how they did Steph and Sabrina a few years ago? You could have put together this lineup, and it would have done great for Saturday. Have four teams, have Indy represented by Halliburton and Caitlin Clark, then have Klay Thompson and Paige Beckers represent Dallas, have Sabrina and Brunson represent New York, and then have Steph Curry, and I would throw in Kate Martin because of the Clark ties for Golden State. That would have been a cool extra thing to watch on Saturday. And the other one I think we're all in agreement on, and shout out to Jaylen Brown for making this public, is the one-on-one contest is clearly the right way to go. One-on-one contest is clearly what we need, and for anyone who talks about injury, even just college little baby ballers like me know when you play one-on-one and you know what you're doing, there are ways to play defense without hurting people, how you can move your feet and still get your hand up. They're professionals. They know how to do it. I'm really not concerned about injury as much as everyone else is, and would be the coolest thing to watch. Unrivaled, shout out to them, has done a great job making that, a real event again. I would love to see a bunch of one-on-one matchups. So that, WNBA shooters, better dunk contest, a few things, but back to All-Star Sunday and the new revolution, man. It only takes one to start something new. One guy willing to risk looking just uncool, one guy willing to compete. That's how eras reset. So shout out Wemby. Dude, I love what you did Sunday. I think you've really pushed yourself with the torch in your hand to say, I am the next big thing to watch. He was already exciting with his body type and talent like we had never seen before. Now to know that he has the heart of the old school guys, I think he can really lead the new revolution. So shout out to Wemby, shout out to Ant, shout out to the new generation. Let's make this a normal thing and normalize giving a crap when it actually doesn't even matter, but just because you want to prove that you're better than the next guy that they say is better than you.
I'm the greatest man in the world. Woo!
So that's good news for the NBA. I got bad news for the WNBA. This strike is coming. I really hope y'all understand the WNBA strike, or at least a major delay, is imminent.
It's going to happen.
Do we realize how far we've gotten? They've already said and are promoting that the season opener is going to be May 8th. May 8th. They haven't even agreed on anything, not to mention they have not one but two drafts to do, both the college and now the expansion draft, because they added 2 teams. They would have to sign 100+ free agents. Most people put themselves in a situation to sign as a free agent this year because they knew the new CBA was coming, not to mention training camps and cuts, and they have less than 80 days to do it, and they still have not even agreed on anything close to a new CBA yet.
I still have a lot of work to do.
The WNBA is in trouble. The WNBA is probably going to go away this season and is really going to hurt themselves in the future, man. The WNBA is about to blow it. This once-in-a-lifetime kind of Tiger MJ moment that I had discussed before is already, in my opinion, gone.
And it's gone.
And I warned them 2 years ago, please don't fumble this bag. You got Caitlin and Angel, cultural momentum coming up. But now I look at it, dude, a strike is basically inevitable.
I am inevitable.
The WNBA has completely blown their leverage in these negotiations by acting like the league has arrived for a lot of the wrong reasons. One, they still don't realize that they are dangerously dependent on just one player.
Jesus, you got a one-track mind. It's always Caitlin.
Two, they let this boutique startup in Unrivaled set unrealistic expectations. And three, the worst of all, they doubled down on this delusion when they stayed in their echo chamber. But more importantly, they let the leadership of Unrivaled really, and that conflict of interests, be the only voice in the room. And it is no shock to me they've gotten nowhere and have killed their momentum. And I don't know what to tell you, WNBA. You're not the MLB. You're not the NHL. If and when you go on a strike, which I think is going to happen, you do not have the decades of emotional equity to survive freezing out a season and a summer when you had the most momentum.
You blew it!
But like I said, I really think a strike is coming, or at least a delay. Let's just deal in facts. That CBA expired January 9th. 98% of players have already voted to authorize a strike. Negotiations are not even close when I say they are at a bitter impasse. And it's all about the revenue sharing and this new $2.2 billion media deal. Basically, it breaks down to this. There's a lot of other stuff, but this is the main thing you need to know. The players and the league are arguing over revenue sharing. The players want 30% of the gross, and they want that to have a $10.5 million salary cap with average salaries around $1 million. The league is countering and saying not 30% of the gross revenue, we'll give you 70% of net revenue. Basically, after they've already allotted all their other finances to everything else, we'll give you a $5.65 million salary cap and $540,000 average salary. And the league is saying, dude, if we went with your very friendly player model, it would lead to $700 million in losses. And I know I hate being the cranky adult in the room. I actually think what the WNBA league proposed was pretty close to what I thought was a fair upgrade compared to where they were 4 to 5 times over their previous contracts.
Breaking news in the WNBA labor standoff. The players just gave a counter offer, dropping their revenue ask to 27.5% of gross earnings and pitching a $9.5 million salary cap. Well, whoop-de-freaking-do. That's still way over what the league's ready to agree to. With training camps less than 2 months away, the season is closer than ever to being terminated.
But the point is, no matter what I believe in, dude, these are two economic different planets. These are not even close to being in the same universe. And of course, they're not going to see eye to eye on that. It is going to be a continued problem in these negotiations.
Let's agree to disagree.
But the bigger problem, and I also warned people about this one, this was the biggest mistake, in my opinion, and nobody really brings it up enough. Letting the rival league do the negotiations is without question the biggest mistake the WNBA made in all of this discussion. Do y'all realize that of the 7 executive committee members leading the negotiations for the WNBA, 6 were part of Unrivaled? Repeat that. Out of the 7 people most in charge of trying to negotiate the new CBA with the WNBA, 6 of them are playing in Unrivaled, and 2 of those are the co-founders in Collier and Stewart. That is not just a small conflict of interest when they are actually either playing, getting checks, have a safety net, or actually the founders of the rival league. Whether it's Plum, whether it's Sabally, Williams, Turner, they're all part of the Unrivaled roster. And again, Collier and Stewart are not just co-founders. Now we just found out yesterday, Stewart is already signing an overseas contract. So the problem with this is that besides the fact of that conflict of interest, they have other places to go. The Unrivaled League, just FYI, is only 54 players. The WNBA is 180. So basically 126 of you let 6 of your 7 go to negotiate on your behalf that all had another paycheck, that all had somewhere else they can go.
I got nowhere else to go.
That's not just a small mistake. Of course these things have not moved on. Of course these things are at a stall. Everyone in charge has at least some sort of, whether they admit or not, motivation to say, dude, I have another paycheck coming from this direction. I don't need to worry about this. I can hold out. Or even better, I'm the founder of another league, and if this one goes under, everyone's going to run to me, and my league is going to make a ton of money, and I'm going to make a ton of money. Y'all really have to stop buying the lie that Unrivaled is trying to shove down people's throats, that, oh, we're just going to be a supplemental league. We're not trying to take over the WNBA. That's nothing. Y'all really, ugh. You got to be kidding me. The only goal is to be a supplemental league is just absolutely the biggest load of horse crap that I've heard in a minute, man. And so when negotiators can afford to sit out on your behalf and the rest of the 126 of you can't, the incentives are just not aligned. And I don't know how y'all let this happen, having nobody at the major forefront of your negotiations be in your spot of like, hey, we either get this deal through or I don't get paid and my career goes away, was probably the least discussed and biggest mistake of all of this. But I do want to discuss Unrivaled because I think it's part of the entire mistake that is being made. They are distorting reality because they are basically, dude, they're the new ABA of the 1970s just on the women's side. This is a promising boutique startup company. This was not what a lot of people, especially online and the players, like to compare apples to apples. It's barely apples to oranges, dude. Unrivaled is doing good, but they only have 54 players. It's an 8-week season. It's 3-on-3. So yes, their average salary of $222,000, $100,000 minimum, 15% player equity. It feels like leverage and it looks good in some ways, but it is a startup, and look closer, man. Only in year 2, we are already seeing a huge dip, and this is also a big hole if this doesn't work out for them. The television ratings,
nobody's watching my show,
aren't just doing bad, they're doing horribly low. Opening weekend for the second season of Unrivaled is already down from 312 to 175,000, and that's the best they've done all year. Most of the games on TNT Primetime are under 100,000 viewers. Some get 30 to 20,000 viewers. I've seen some of the games get an NA rating, which means that there's not even enough metric to measure a number. This is in primetime on TNT stations. They are going down an average of 68% every time they air an Unrivaled game instead of just a rerun. So to review that, it is cheaper for them to air a rerun of some movie, A Few Good Men, for the 816th time.
You You can't handle the truth.
And is less expensive than doing a live Unrivaled game. And the bigger part of that is a buyout of TNT is happening at the same time their ratings are dipping. There is a 2027 evaluation opt-out clause for their media deal with TNT. TNT, the parent company, is currently in complete restructuring and a buyout. And they've already gotten rid of the NBA.
And it's gone.
If that TV money, which is just the complete anchor of Unrivaled's new high-paying salary, goes away, once again, poof, it's all gone.
And now it's gone. Gone forever.
It's all gone. And I think it's at least going to be a discussion by the new people that bought out TNT. Hey, instead of losing 70% ratings, having to air a live game and deal with all the structure and the social pressure, why don't we again just air A Few Good Men?
Sounds good. Let's move on.
King of Queens for the 897th time. It is 70% higher rated and cheaper to do it that way. I really think you better be careful that 2027 year doesn't come around and they go, hey, you know, that TV deal was a good idea, but we got better ways to spend our money. And if that goes away, this surging wealth and that narrative that, oh man, we already have a model that the WNBA should follow goes completely away. Dude, Unrivaled is a single site, low overhead, venture-backed startup. It is not the same thing. 54 players, they play in an 800 to 1,000 seat arena, travel every now and again. WNBA is 180 plus players, multi-city travel, a bunch of arena leases, thousands on year-round staff, charter flights, not to mention the other demands that they're asking for. There's so much more being put into the infrastructure of the WNBA, and confusing your boutique exhibition startup model, which has some highlights but still has its problems, is completely misreading your leverage. And like I said, I've seen this before. Every young person, y'all think you're the first ones to come up with things. I am telling you, this is the ABA of the 2026 and on the women's side. This is the ABA again. I have seen this before. You always think you're first, but the ABA came around in the 70s, back when the NBA was having a little bit of struggles there, and they came out as a rival company and they inflated salaries and they created these huge bidding wars, and in the end, it nearly bankrupted both leagues and forced a merger. Back when they were doing well, the ABA did inflate salaries. They were able to buy out a lot of NBA players and raise the overall salaries over the next 10 years from $35,000 to $180,000. But when interest waned, they went bye-bye. They were a financial disaster. By the 1976 merger, 7 of the 11 ABA teams were gone. They were gone. There was only 4 left to crawl back to the NBA. So I'm warning you, man, startup cash can feel like a revolution, but if you haven't heard an audience, dude, it's a mirage. The ABA had some good ideas, and they were great for raising money in the short term. They had cool ideas like the three-point line, like the dunk contest. They were able to raise salaries, and in the end, I actually think that's what Unrivaled will be once time has played it out. They're going to be just like that league, which was a laboratory for a few new ideas, but eventually gets absorbed once the cash runs out, once the interest runs out, and if TV ratings are anything showing the truth, it's already starting to run out. Last thing, and I have to mention this part because this has been the crux of my frustration with the WNBA. This is something kids don't want to hear today, but someone's going to have to be the adult in the room and say it. This is the truest thing I'm ever going to tell you, and history backs it, so look at me. You can be on the right side of history and still go about it the wrong way.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind?
Kids hate, they don't want to hear this, they don't want to believe it. You can be on the right side of history and still go about it the wrong way. These players deserve more money. That's not the argument. It's never been. The argument has been strategy, because the belief right now, and it's not just WNBA, dude, it's everywhere, that if you're morally correct, the method doesn't matter. Method always matters. Right now, the WNBA exists in an echo chamber where the media is completely supportive, social media is completely supportive, the player room is completely unified, and anything outside of that criticizes them is labeled as hating, and so people just try to stay away from it. Nobody is incentivized inside their actual echo chamber room to go, dude, if you overplay your hand, you're going to screw things up. That's exactly what is happening. You have too many sycophants and only people that say the things you want to hear around you, and you can't hear the truth, and so you're overplaying your hand, and you're not doing what it takes to win the casual fan and the culture war. And I know people will call this cliche, but sports proved this model in a way harder situation than you with Jackie Robinson. Say what you want, but Jackie Robinson had way more moral justification to explode and fight back than anyone else, not just in sports history, maybe in human history. When Jackie Robinson Robinson broke the color barrier. If anyone had the right to call out fans, act immature, question leadership, ask for more money, fight back, anything, it was Jackie freaking Robinson. Nobody will ever face the level of fire that he did back in those times. And when Branch Rickey said, dude, I can't even let you argue back because you can't do anything that will give them the excuse to make you look bad. We need sympathy. We need empathy. I need you to be disciplined. I need you to show class. It is the prime example of how that silent middle, not the loud ones on either side, but the ones in the middle watching, the ones who change things. It took a few years, but once people realized how he was being treated and he got sympathy on his side, he made history better for the entire future of all of our generations. And it was not done by immediately acting like a child or fighting back or going with the visceral reaction, which is where the WNBA likes to live a lot because everybody likes to tell them it's okay to do it. And I'm the only one who, and I know I'm the wrong messenger, but I'm telling you, the way you've gone about this has been completely wrong, not just in your CBA, but publicly. And this pay us or we're going to sit out, pay us what you owe us, calling out everybody, pointing fingers. It will only get compliance in a direct conversation. It does not actually change minds, man. Force can win compliance. It doesn't win belief. You are not just negotiating with owners, and I think that's also been confusing for the average WNBA fan and player. You're negotiating with casual fans, sponsors, that silent middle that doesn't live on Twitter. And if you lose the room when you're trying to win the fight, you already lost. This isn't just about the WNBA. This is really about a generation that thinks if I'm right, I can do and act however I want. Unfortunately, history has never proved that. History does not reward the loudest.
Doesn't make you smart. It doesn't make you right.
It rewards the strategic. There's a reason we still wear 42 every year in MLB because he proved that exact point. So, I don't know what to tell you. WNBA is probably done. Maybe they'll get a delayed season. I think they're in huge trouble. They're nowhere close. And my only warning, man, you don't get unlimited swings at momentum. This Caitlin Clark Angel thing was kind of that Tiger Woods in golf. Look at golf right now without Tiger. They've never recovered, and they didn't go on strike. In WNBA, you're not Major League Baseball in 1994. You are not the National Hockey League with 80 years of loyalty. I think these unrivaled leaders who had their own self-interest dragged you into a strike that is going to be more catastrophic than you absolutely realize. Training camp's supposed to open in April. Season's supposed to start in May. You still have to do 2 drafts, free agency. I think all of this is it's too close, it's too soon, and I don't think they understand the path they're on. I'm looking at the Titanic, man, and I'm really sad because I was ready to watch Caitlin. Caitlin is still my second favorite player in the entire planet right now, not named Steph Curry. I sat down and watched her, and just watching this happen, it's sad. It was just... it's just everything about it. I'm going to move on, but WNBA, you're in big, big trouble, and I don't think you realize how big a trouble you are in, and not holding yourself accountable was unfortunately part of your problem.
It is absolutely 150% your fault.
All right, last one, man. I got Bad Bunny tribal sorting and why all of this halftime show nonsense is actually going to end at WrestleMania.
WrestleMania! No way!
You heard me. I got a big prediction here.
Yes, prediction.
I'll explain. But before I do, I'm going to start here. I have an FYI and a news flash, and this might actually shock you. Did you know, even in 2026, you're allowed to have your own opinion on the halftime show? Like, do people know that? I'm genuinely concerned that apparently people don't know this. Even on something as, serious as Bad Bunny performing music in the middle of a football game, you were actually allowed to have your own opinion. You did not have to have this pre-locked, preloaded, preordained view on how that show went. You could be conservative.
Immigrants, illegals.
And you could like Bad Bunny's music and like the performance. You can be progressive.
Obama!
And think the performance was just kind of okay or mid. You can support immigration reform and think the show was absolutely terrible.
This show sucks.
Do you hear what I'm saying? You were allowed to have your own opinion. I know nobody let you believe that. I know everyone told you this is how you're going to feel one way or the other. I'm still pretty sure, even in this year, critical thinking and having your own opinion on things is allowed, but apparently not online. Everything was an allegiance. Everything, critical thinking died way before kickoff. I'm going on social media. I'm seeing 80-year-olds pretending like they were suddenly the biggest Kid Rock fan in the world. which I thought was funny. Oh, yeah, before Shuffleboard, I've been playing Bodwittabod. That's why I turned into the Turning Point show. And then I got 18-year-olds on the other side, and they were just crying their eyes out before the first Novia even came out. Like the halftime show was somehow more moving than the end of Coco and Marley and Me combined. It was just so clearly performative and forced on both sides. It just kind of... I always roll my eyes at this stuff, but I just think it's worth re-mentioning. It's okay. Like, you don't have to...
A tea party broke out at a football game.
People forgot about the game. I don't think anyone Seahawks beating the Patriots, Sam Darnold's first Super... Does any of that ring any bells for anybody? Because all I heard anybody bitch about was the halftime show and fighting for like a damn week, and it was just kind of funny to me because, yeah, again, boy, if I think of times to fight when I get really fired up, it's a guy performing music in the middle of a football game. That's when I get pissed off. Forget elections, forget Civil War, all that stuff. When Bad Bunny sings at a halftime show, that's when I got to bring my guns out. That's when I got to start. Oh, Lordy.
He's set on all sides by idiots.
The good news is, like I said, we have a stage for this that is perfect. WrestleMania and versus the Paul brothers. This is actually going to happen. I am making this prediction, and I am 97% sure I am right on this. In case you missed, in all of the fallout, the Paul brothers got into it on Twitter about the Bad Bunny show. Jake, being Jake, called for a boycott, even said that Bad Bunny was, quote, a fake American. And then Logan Paul, smartly came to his defense and publicly checked his brother and said, dude, you understand Puerto Ricans are Americans. Ding dong, like that. I am a dumb. That was its own kind of funny thing there. But man, internet has taken over, and people were talking back and forth. Tweets were scrubbed, and then Jake being Jake put on his bio account that he's Benito's #1 fan now. But also, this cuts to in the wrestling world, and I love me some wrestling. On Monday Night Raw and pay-per-views, there's been this masked attacker. It's this cliche thing they've been doing for a while, but they had this masked guy come in, and he causes all sorts of disturbance with Logan Paul's little faction he's in called The Vision. And a lot of people, not just me, are saying, how perfect would that be if that's Bad Bunny? How perfect would that be? This masked who is it mystery man leading up to WrestleMania and the Pauls fighting on Twitter. How cool would that be if they make the reveal of that Bad Bunny? Because also, if you don't know, Bad Bunny is not just a good singer. This is where I know him and love him, is from the wrestling ring. He is arguably the best celebrity to ever enter the wrestling ring, hands down. This kid is phenomenal. He's done some pay-per-views. I remember he did in 2023, he did a street fight in Puerto Rico. This guy can do like Mexican destroyers. He can do flips. He can do all sorts of stuff, like the things that a lot of WWE wrestlers train for years. Bad Bunny was a natural. And of course, he's a showman. So, I mean, he really can put it all together. He is arguably, I don't even think arguably, he's at least Rushmore of the best celebrities to ever enter that world and perform on a real stage. And he just said recently in interviews and stuff, he's been dying to come back to the WWE. It's like a virus, man. These guys, once they get it in them, ask Jelly Roll. This is something they really love doing. And so, dude, I'm seeing all the stars align here. This huge cultural fight. You got the Paul people on Twitter going back and forth. Then there's a mystery masked man who we don't know who it is. We got a big WrestleMania coming up, which, by the way, ticket sales have not been up to snuff. That's also got to be put into all my puzzle and equation here. It's in Vegas and is way too expensive, and they're having a hard time selling tickets right now. So cultural flashpoint, Twitter war, a masked mystery angle, WrestleMania ticket sales softer than expected, Logan Paul not just tweeting against Jake, but also teasing a big money match. I don't think this is coincidence. I think we're actually going to see Bad Bunny and Logan Paul somehow either together or versus each other at WrestleMania, and I am all for it because this is what, to me, as a wrestling fan,
wrestling is awesome.
This is what wrestling has always done going back to the 70s and 80s. And if you don't know, I'll just let you know right now. WWE has always been a good reflection or mirror of whatever the country is going through and arguing about. That has always made the best good guy, bad guy, and turned into a match because it creates natural heat. They call it heat in the WWE. But going back to the 80s and 70s of the Cold War, we had Hulk Hogan versus Iron Sheik that pissed all sorts of people off. Sergeant Slaughter famously turned defector and said he liked Iran for a while. That poor bastard had to wear bulletproof vest because he was so scared of the heat that he got. Bret Hart was this interesting cultural divide because he was Canadian, so he was supposed to be a bad guy. He'd be a hero in Canada. He'd be a villain in America. They've actually already done the immigration angle. People don't know this. About 10 years ago, Jack Swagger, Alberto Del Rio, there was this match that kind of focused on the immigration beef. Wrestling has always been kind of a funhouse mirror for American tension. And so Bad Bunny versus Logan Paul, or Bad Bunny and Logan Paul versus Jake Paul and some other opponent is just too perfect. And I'm actually, as a fan, I wonder if all the Twitter stuff was part of a work. For people that don't know, in wrestling terms, a work is when they pretend to be something is real, but it's actually fake. In wrestling terms, that's called a work. Give you a little education to you non-wrestling dorks like me. So I wonder if even afterwards, Logan and Jake going at it publicly on the internet was not part of a work that's going to lead to a WrestleMania match, which would be even smarter if it did. So I really, there's a lot of outcomes and a lot of ways we can go here, but I'm going to stick to this prediction. I'm feeling good about this, that I think Bad Bunny is somehow going to get tied into WrestleMania. I think the Masked Man angle is the best way to do it and put him against the Paul brothers. And just to close, man, look, the halftime show was not ever supposed to be a loyalty oath. It was supposed to be entertainment. And you're allowed to think for yourself. Even as something as earth-shattering as a halftime show, you were allowed to have your own opinion. But since we can't, since we still struggle with that, since we want tribal warfare, I say we settle it in the ring, under lights, WrestleMania, Las Vegas, Paul, Bad Bunny, let's get it on. And once again, I'll have something fun to watch over the summer. All right, I got to go. You guys enjoy the rest of your week. Do not forget, like and subscribe. I love you. Bye.
Tricky Guy Sports.